was just having Gatorade earlier.
Yeah.
I like the same flavors.
I mean, I think that the Glacial Freeze and the Berry Zero, G0 is where it's at.
See, I like Glacial Freeze, and I like the, what's the Frost one? That's pretty similar.
Yeah. That light blue Gatorade, man, that's the shit.
Okay. Well, we're here. Kevin's internet is down. That's why he's in a different location. So
it is what it is. But you know what I mean? I got that mobile data plan. It works out.
There you go. So, what's up? What's new? Anything?
Just got back down from the mountains. Oh. And Amanda and I had a good time up there. Just taking our kiddo on his first hike.
Nice.
And
nice.
Then outside of that, it's we've just been transitioning to a new job, so that's good. And then that's where I'm at right now. It's very interesting to say the least.
No, there you go. Good shit. So, what do you want to talk about first today?
I think one of the better things to talk about would be the use of federal forces on protesters in Portland and very soon in Chicago and coming soon to a location near you.
Right. So, okay. Here, let me I might as well just share this now then, since we are... Where the hell? This one. So yeah. So this is a Washington Post. No, it's not. That is my files. Hang on a minute. Bring that over here. Okay.
I can see the Washington Post.
There. Do you not see it? Oh, wait.
No, I see it.
You do see it.
I do.
Oh, wait. You know what? Hold on. Shit. I forgot to, I'm not going to share it, actually, because I want to make sure that the audio... Okay. Now you should be able to see that. Oh, wait. No, I screwed up again. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
Okay. All right. There's us. Okay. So this is, this is a Washington Post article. From the 22nd, so it's about 4 days old, but basically it is Trump announces increase in federal law enforcement in more U.S. cities. So I don't know if we should play the video first here. Let's just hear what our president has to say about this.
In recent weeks, there has been a radical movement to defund, dismantle, and dissolve our police departments. Extreme politicians have joined this anti-police crusade and relentlessly vilified our law enforcement heroes. To look at it from any standpoint, the effort to shut down policing in their own communities has led to a shocking explosion of shootings, killings, murders, and heinous crimes of violence. This bloodshed must end. This bloodshed will end. Today, I'm announcing a surge of federal law enforcement into American communities plagued by violent crime. We'll work every single day to restore public safety, protect our nation's children, and bring violent perpetrators to justice. We've been doing it, and you've been seeing what's happening all around the country. We've just started this process, and frankly, we have no choice but to get involved.
Okay.
He was a puppet master.
Oh God, shut up. Sorry. So yeah, Trump, so I think that you remember when he used the federal agents, or I guess the military in DC to break up the protests?
Yes.
I feel like that was dress rehearsal for what he wants to do now to the rest of the American cities at the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess I'll just go ahead and just read this article because it pretty much highlights exactly what's going on. So while it's true that violence has increased in some cities recently, coinciding with a global pandemic and huge protests over racism and police brutality, experts caution against drawing a firm conclusion from such small samples of data. The deployment, at least at first, will be focused in Chicago, Albuquerque, where Attorney General William Barr said the Justice Department will roll out a program. It launched earlier this month in Kansas City, Missouri, to increase the number of agents from the FBI, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and the ATF. So I just want to also update. Cleveland has been added to that list. I'm not sure about any other cities at the moment because I only add Cleveland to that list because I just recently read a local newspaper, Cleveland.com, that indicated that, yes, federal agents will be sent to Cleveland as well. I'm not sure about your area, though, Kevin. I haven't heard anything, though. No, nothing?
I haven't heard anything either, but I would not be surprised if that's quickly added.
Yeah. So the program, named Operation Legend, to honor 4-year-old Legend Taliaferro, I'm probably butchering this, I'm sorry, Taliaferro, was shot and killed in Kansas City last month. So Barr says the goal is to help save lives. Barr also said more cities could be added to the operation in coming weeks. He said the federal government has sent more than 200 agents to Kansas City, Chicago, and he said a similar number and more than 35 agents will be sent to Albuquerque. So they will be added to existing anti-violence crime task forces. Chad Wolf, the acting Homeland Security Director, said that although the operation will be led by the Justice Department, investigators from the Department of Homeland Security will also contribute. So local officials often welcome federal help and resources to fight violent crime. Police officers frequently work together with agents from the FBI, the DEA, and ATF on task forces focused on gangs, drugs, or guns. And state officials often give their federal counterparts authority to help with local law enforcement. But in large part because of the Trump administration's aggressive militarized response to protests over racism and police brutality, the normal cooperative relationship has been strained. The tensions become particularly acute in recent days after Customs and Border Protection agents were caught on camera clubbing protesters and stuffing them into armed vehicles in Portland, Oregon. And Trump threatened to send federal law enforcement agencies into Democratic-run cities, including New York and Chicago. I just want to clarify here that pretty much, like Democratic-run cities, pretty much all the cities are Democratic-run because that's where a plurality of the people live. That is where, like, that's the melting pot. Where you get different.
It also tends to be the location of educated individuals.
Yeah,
and it's not so much that it is not so much that college turns people liberal. It's because there's some sort of insidious play within that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more along the lines that people realize that they were knuckle draggers before, and come away with that.
So, federal officials have defended their response in Portland, asserting that officers were protecting U.S. government buildings in a city that has seen night after night of black-clad protesters throwing projectiles and attempting to set federal courthouses on fire. Trump's remarks Wednesday seemed to be focused on attacking political opponents as on detailing a public safety operation. He ticked off high-profile violent incidents or offered data from New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, and Albuquerque, which were run by Democratic mayors, and urged people to hold their local elected leaders accountable. Among these cases he cited was just from Tuesday evening when 15 were injured, 2 critically, in a shooting outside of a funeral home in Chicago. So we must remember that the job of policing a neighborhood falls on the shoulders of local elected leadership, Trump said. When they abdicate their duty, the results are catastrophic. So Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot said at a later news conference that the speech was a political stunt. Go figure. The president is trying to divert attention from his failed leadership on COVID-19, she said. Even before Wednesday's announcement, Trump's deployment of federal law enforcement in response to violent civil unrest had prompted significant outrage. So on Wednesday, several lawmakers from Oregon, including Senators Jeff Merkley and Ron Wyden, formally requested that the Justice Department and Homeland Security Inspector Generals investigate the unrequested presence of violent actions of recently deployed federal troops in Portland. There's a problem with this, though, because Trump has been purging the Justice Department of Inspector Generals. So there really isn't much accountability being looked at right now at the moment in the Justice Department, which is pretty fucking frightening, to say the least. Senate Democrats on Wednesday also aggressively questioned a Justice Department official who Trump has nominated to be the top lawyer for the intelligence community about the deployment. So, if a line is not drawn in the sand right now, Americans may be staring down the barrel of martial law in the middle of a presidential election. This is important because, let me ask you, how much of this is about really Trump's attempts at maintaining quote-unquote law and order, or more of it just a suppression of the vote in order to boost his chances of getting reelected?
I personally sit on several components because I actually am far more concerned even now about voter suppression.
Right.
And I think we are entering into a third Red Scare. I had mentioned it before about with Ted Cruz using the words left-wing extremists, Antifa, anarchists, and left-wing activists all interchangeably.
Right, yeah.
And I personally think we're looking at kind of a cascade, is that they went up, and the first thing that they teed up against was immigrants. And the second thing that they're teeing up against is political dissidents. And if they can suppress the political dissidents enough, then they won't be able to make any sort of headway through electoral politics.
That's actually no.
And then if he does declare martial law, so if he kind of does like an accelerationist move, because I mean, they're protesting police brutality, and then you have federales basically acting as a Gestapo and beating the shit out of protesters. Man, I can only imagine what that's going to do.
Yeah, I know. What a better response to answer the protests of police brutality is to respond with more police brutality.
But then there's also as if the response is greater, it could potentially lead to more violence, which I think is even a more troublesome thing.
No, yeah.
Because if we see an increase in that, we can also see a cascade among other things.
Well, that issue with violence is going to be shown because I've got videos of this policy that Trump is talking about right now taking full shape. So
if more people respond in kind with violence, I get more worried, specifically in several factors. And my thought process with it is if that continues to spiral out of control, then he can declare martial law, suspend the election, or he can say, look at all these people fighting against us. They're also the ones that are rigging the election. And he'll try to use that in order to try to, maintain his base and justify suspending any constitutional rights. Which it's obviously it's not that he cares about the Constitution anyhow.
No. Well, if you bring everything that you brought up, coupled with, again, we're in a pandemic right now. So you have two prime examples that Trump can use to suppress the vote in whatever way he can. Yeah, people need to understand that he's probably going to optimize those chances in order to help guarantee his reelection. So I don't think people should be nonchalant about like what's going on. Yes, I know Trump in the polls right now, Trump is not doing well. Biden is leading with a significant margin, but I don't feel like people should take their eye off the ball because we still have 4 months till the election. Wait, August. Yeah, 4 months. I think people need to be wary. So they should pay attention to how Trump is responding to these protests, as well as how he is responding to the notion of mail-in voting. Because, if we see the second wave of Corona, which is most likely may happen this autumn, you're going to see shutdowns and you're going to see people, being in lockdown again. And in most cases, how are people going to vote this election? It's most likely going to be due by mail. So not only look at what Trump's doing, look at what the Republicans are doing, because they are still, we're talking about mail-in voting. The Republicans still want to defund the U.S. Postal Service.
Well, I mean, now we should all be blatantly clear with what's going on within the Republican circle, because they've held up the stimulus bill, right?
Yeah.
And it's not an argument about economics. It is not.
No.
It is purely about ideology, because anytime that the stimulus bill hits, the stock market goes up. Okay, not that the stock market is a measure of the economy, right? If he was touting that, then he would be pushing the Republicans to pass it. You would also have it so that more people would be able to access what they need, and they're moving against that as well. So I mean, there's several components which to me are very, very troublesome.
Yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely. So let's just wrap up this article. So Barr claimed Operation Legend had led to 200 arrests in Kansas City in just 2 weeks. That, though, is incorrect, and a Justice Department official later said that the figure to which Barr was referring included arrests, but by some by state and local officials dating to December, long before the operation was announced. At that time, the department announced an operation with a different name called Relentless Pursuit, aimed at combating violent crimes in 7 cities, including Kansas City. Like Trump, though, Barr blamed recent upticks in violence on efforts to defund the police. This rise in direct result of the attacks on police forces and the weakening of this rise is a direct result of the attacks on the police forces and the weakening of police forces, he said. Which, no, I'm going to push back on that, because we are at record unemployment that have not been seen since the Great Recession, or even the Great Depression for that matter. And it's probably going to get worse in the autumn when the inevitable COVID second wave hits. You're seeing people not having income, and you're seeing people... There is a correlation between crime and unemployment, okay? That's what I'm trying to hint at. Do you agree? Yeah?
I'll even say poverty, right? And
yes, poverty. Yes, yeah. Poverty. You don't even have to. You can still be employed, but you can still not be making ends meet. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can also look at the long-term effects with the different experiments where they were going in with the universal basic income ideas. Yeah. About this disincentivizes work. That's not true. It is not true. And a stimulus paycheck does not disincentivize it. Now, I'm against testing things, but to me, the word taxes to the American are just a very a toxic thing because of Reagan and the rest of the Republican Party.
Okay. So going back to this use of federal authorities. We're going to talk specifically, I guess, Portland now, because I guess it is what we call the epicenter of what's currently happening with these policies. So let's do this. So this is the acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf talking about the federal agents surge and criticism of the local Portland Authority response to these protests. So let's just go ahead and play it here.
Acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf joins us now. Mr. Secretary, good morning. Thanks for being with us. As you just heard and saw, the mayor of Portland was tear gassed last night while he was meeting with protesters, and the protests themselves seem to have gotten larger.
That's really important because not only like is the mayor of Portland obviously in charge of the local authorities, but the act of him being tear gassed by federal agents who are under the jurisdiction of Trump is clearly sending a message, a very dark message to local officials across America.
Yeah, I think that we need to consider that when you remove peaceful options for solving problems, you're inviting violence.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that is one of the worst things that you could do in the situation, especially when you're looking at quote unquote law and order. But we should stop pretending that it's law and order and it's straight up fascism. Yeah. That's beyond a reasonable doubt. We can identify Trump as a fascist.
Absolutely.
Since your agents went in, are they actually inflaming the situation?
No, absolutely not. What we know is before DHS law enforcement, civil law enforcement officers arrived in Portland, the mayor is on record as saying that the city is it has a certain level of violence. It was ongoing for a month before we arrived. The mayor has been very outspoken on that. So just as it was before DHS arrived, it was very violent and it continues to be very violent. I'm very concerned that the mayor chose an audience. There are both peaceful protesting going on in Portland and then very violent criminal activity going on in Portland. And the mayor chose to go to that violent activity. He has legitimized criminal behavior by doing that. He could have chosen to go to peaceful protesting, had a audience there, and could have made his points. He chose.
Fuck this fucking pivoting. All protests start as peaceful.
Yeah,
they get violent through the police response.
Yeah, well, I mean, the protests that I've been to, I don't know where you're at, is usually they'll say, "Oh, for your safety," e.g., we're going to open up a can of whoop ass if you don't GTFO, right? Like it is 9 times out of 10, it is not the protesters that are the ones that are initiating violence. At least in my personal experience. I cannot say in these other situations. I'm sure that that's not true during issues of looting, at the initiation or the arsons that happened with it. But at the same point in time, right, it was violence that initiated all this.
Well, typically those riots and like arsons and looting, they're a response to the police use of force of breaking up these crowds. They're so focused with, arresting the protesters that they're not paying attention to the stores being looted and stuff like that. This actually was an interesting. This is local for me in Cleveland, because the Cleveland protests turned into a riot, and through investigative journalism by, I'm sorry, I don't remember the journalist's name at the moment, but he exposed the fact that it was the Cleveland Police Department that triggered the upsurge that led to the riots to begin with, and basically the tactics that they used to disperse the crowds created the conditions that led to the riot and looting that followed afterwards. So, I mean, that's just a prime example for, in my city. So yeah, this is bullshit about like, well, you should have played nice when these people are either being disingenuous or they're that fucking stupid, in which case neither is a good fucking option. to have when
Yeah.
you're in a position of power like this. It's
Agreed.
just it's almost straight up gaslighting.
I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. So
to go to an area that has seen 54 nights of criminal activity targeting a federal courthouse and targeting federal law enforcement officers. So again, I call on local and state leaders to work with the Department of Homeland Security. We want to work with you. We want to bring this violence to a close in a peaceful manner, but we see the opposite from state and local leaders there.
Why do you think they don't want you there, Mr. Secretary?
Well, again, I think there's confusion on what we are doing in Portland. We are there to protect the federal courthouse. We have that responsibility given to us by the United States Congress. We are on that federal property, and we are protecting that federal property. What makes Portland so different from every other country, we protect over almost 9,000 facilities across the country. Portland is the only city where a protester can stand, a violent criminal can stand on the other side of the street and lob a Molotov cocktail at the courthouse, and there's no repercussion for that from a law enforcement perspective. They need to do their job. They need to enforce the law. They need to work with us and make sure that we hold violent criminals accountable for criminal activity.
Mr. Secretary, the Oregon Attorney General said that
no
agents have arrested people.
So I also want to touch on the idea of criminals and about how the conservative movement has genuinely kind of taken this word and they create criminals, right? Like in my mind, like,
well, they create criminals because they create new things that are crimes. It's not like there's more criminals. There's just more things that you can be accused of crime of, basically.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I think that, if we're going to use that word so flippantly, who are the real criminals here? Is it the people that are breaking the law of the land or the Constitution? Is it the people that have, in my opinion, stolen from the taxpayer by increasing their wealth to an astounding amount, right? Both elected officials and the non-elected officials.
Elected officials to get their money.
Yeah. I mean, increasing the deficit, putting it on the backs of the American people, which then they'll use austerity in order to try to decrease that. And then you have Mitch McConnell right now trying to defund Social Security again.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're sitting in a place where we're looking at a pandemic where people are unable to work. And a lot of our most vulnerable are in their worst situation. Even by his own admission, people receiving underneath 40 grand a year are hurt the most. Mm-hmm. And they're holding their hands behind their back while they watch these small businesses fail. And we all know that the more jobs that are permanently lost, the deeper the economic scars are going to be felt. Right. But it's going to leave an opportunity for the richest in our country to continue to rape everything and take it all for themselves.
Well, we've already seen that, like this pandemic being used as an exploitative measure for the upper classes to just accumulate more wealth through the CARES Act. So they can do it through a legislative agenda, or they can do it like this. I mean.
And we're also looking at it. The continuation of Trump's advocacy for a payroll tax decrease does not get passed down to the employees.
No.
It does not get passed on to the employees, right? It simply removes more funding from the most effective method to help combat this, which is taxation and government spending, right?
Yeah.
Like if we look at any other country or even our own on what's worked, I mean, you have libertarians like Mark Cuban admitting, holy shit, Ayn Rand was wrong.
I just want to add that it's fucking irony that the Ayn Rand Institute needed a taxpayer government bailout too. So there's that.
It's trash, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's utter garbage, and it's frankly disgusting in my opinion. But
no, I agree. So let's go.
One second. Let me control my dogs and throw them outside.
Okay, no problem.
Come on, doggos. This way. And I'm back.
Okay. All right, let's just continue where we left off.
People on streets far from the courthouse with no probable cause and whisked them away in unmarked cars. Is that accurate?
It's not accurate. Again, we continue to battle misleading headlines and
we're
just
gonna let this run
reporting
because we already know he's full of shit.
We have a direction from not only the Congress, but it's in federal statute. We protect that courthouse, and we have the ability to make arrests on individuals that are committing criminal acts. Now, we normally don't do that in any other city in the country because we have state and we have local law enforcement that is partnering with the federal government, and they make those arrests as they should. However, we are not seeing that in Portland. So that's requiring the federal government to go out a block, 2 blocks, maybe 3 blocks from that courthouse.
So you are going beyond the courthouse.
That again,
you are going beyond the courthouse.
That's it. And we have the absolutely expressed right and authority to do that. It's in our...
He's already contradicted himself because they say that they have the authority within the vicinity, but now he is expanding it now. Like, we can go beyond the actual area that is federally owned and arrest these people. So, I mean, I
have you seen Legal Eagle's review on this?
No, I have not. Should I?
Oh, you should.
Okay.
And let me tell you, he does an excellent way of dissecting the legal framework in our country that these lawsuits are framed off of. And that guy is lying through his teeth, right? And it's simply, to me, I mean, this is just a moment where we have to sit back and understand that he is saying this for the people in the room that are ignorant of their rights and of the laws of our country and are okay with a totalitarian regime coming through, right?
Yeah. I also want to say that, again, I can't stress that he is the acting DHS secretary because Trump keeps firing people and just hiring lackeys. So I really shouldn't expect much from someone like him in this regard.
No.
So there we go.
No, obviously he's a garbage human.
Garbage, yeah. Trash person. Trash panda.
It's in federal statute that we have the ability to do that. Now, what we're not doing is we're not going to the other side of Portland. We're not going beyond the immediacy of that federal courthouse to arrest individuals.
But, Mr. Secretary, a dozen mayors of major cities in this country have called this an abuse of power. They're not alone. The first Secretary of Homeland Security, Tom Ridge, said the department was established to protect Americans from global terrorism. It was not established to be the president's personal militia.
This is like absolutely ironic because like what we're seeing right now is blowback of U.S. foreign policy boomeranging in the domestic sphere.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm sorry I'm laughing, but it's like kind of like I'm fucking frightened fucking laughter.
Well, I mean, this is the other thing, right? And this is why they want to identify people as terrorists. And the answer is simple. They want to use the Patriot Act against American citizens.
Well, they've already been doing it. I mean, we've known this shit since Edward Snowden's leaks. That yeah. Like I mean, there should be common knowledge that the intelligence community has had far overreach in their surveillance techniques on American citizens. So we're now reaping what I would consider political apathy to the uncontrolled, unaccountable intelligence community just being allowed to just get away with whatever in terms of who they're allowed to watch in surveillance. So
yeah.
Secretary Chertoff, who succeeded him with President George W. Bush, also a Republican, by the way, said the DHS appears to be overstepping its mission, and this is very unsettling. A lot of people think you're overstepping your mission here.
Well, I appreciate the service of both Secretary Ridge and Secretary Chertoff, but they're wrong on this point. They need to understand exactly what's going on, and I think that's unfortunate that most Americans don't understand the violent criminal activity that is occurring in Portland from midnight to 5 a.m. every night and early morning. These are, again, not peaceful protests. The Department of Homeland Security has no concerns. We've seen 54 straight days of peaceful protest in Portland, and you haven't heard of any incidents. We don't make arrests there. There's no concern there. It's this violent activity. We have over last night 2,000 individuals showing up in black, all black, wearing masks, having incendiary devices, fireworks, lobbing that at law enforcement officers. This is
I just want to add, they're dressed like that because you fucking tear gas and flashbang them.
Oh, and then you identify them and you arrest them at their homes later. Huh.
I mean, just the disconnect being involved here is astonishing.
I mean, it's the reality that we are unfortunately sitting in, though, aren't we?
Yeah, I know.
Violent activity, it's criminal activity, and we'll continue to enforce the law at the courthouse in Portland.
What directive did you give your agents when you sent them in?
Here's the directive. All right, you guys need to go to Enterprise. You got to pick up some minivans, and then you just go around the courthouses picking people up.
And look, we want to release them right afterwards after we beat the shit out of them because what we're doing is entirely illegal.
It totally brings a new phrase to pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Yeah. Well, I wanna hit this too, right? Yeah. Like, in order for nonviolent strategies to work, the opposition has to give a fuck about you.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
They had the same directive from the Federal Protective Service, which is the service within the department that protects over those 9,000 federal facilities across the country. Any law enforcement, civil law enforcement officer that goes into Portland is under the direction of Federal Protective Service. They do training, and they are under their leadership. So I have given them no direction. Federal Protective Service, the director there, the deputy director, the on-scene director, they are controlling the actions of DHS law enforcement officers there. And I would say just one other thing to answer your previous question about other mayors and other folks that are concerned. We are not sending any other DHS law enforcement officers to guard federal courthouses like we are in Portland. Why? Because every other city in America knows if you work with the federal government, you can secure your city. And we see that time and time again. It's as if here in D.C., it's as if someone would walk up to the United States Capitol, try to burn it down, and then walk to the other side of the street and say, sorry, you can't touch me. That is what's going on in Portland, and it's wrong.
But, Mr. Secretary, the president is talking about sending agents into other cities. They are all, by the way, Democratic cities, which is part of the reason the administration is being accused of a political act here, essentially. You're not talking about, there are Republican cities with increased violent crime rates, but the president hasn't talked about any of those.
Right. I think you're confusing two different things. Portland is unique, and I think people need to understand that. It's a federal courthouse that's being burned every single night. What the president is referring to and what the Department of Justice talked about yesterday and 2 weeks ago is Operation Legend, which is more your violent criminal activity, street crime that you see with gangs, drug dealers, and the like. These are two very different things. What we're doing in Portland has nothing to do with that type of criminal activity. What we're doing in Portland, again, is seeing criminal activity trying to burn down the seat of justice in downtown Portland, the courthouse. And that is a very small zone that we are protecting. What we're talking about in Chicago, Albuquerque, and other cities, Kansas City, is violent criminal activity, again, gangs, drug dealers, and the like. And so I think your viewers need to understand these are two very different things that are occurring.
Right. I've heard enough. I've heard enough of this asshole. So this.
Yeah.
So there's what the DHS secretary has said. So now let's go to what I could say are the actions of what he's saying. So I've got, I think, 3 videos from Twitter here. So the first one is Portland protesters kidnapped, solved into I think it meant shoved into unmarked vans, but here we go. Let's just
What
watch
is going
this.
on? We need to know. Who are you? Why are you taking? NLG will get you out. What's your name? Tell us your name.
What's your name?
Okay, you're fine. We'll get you out.
Bro, what?
We got you, friend.
We got you.
Oh, fuck.
NLG.
You just violated their rights.
Oh. Kidnapping people.
You just violated their rights.
Thanks for keeping the fucking.
How are we supposed to know
Why
who
are they
you
all?
are? How are we supposed to know you're not?
Why are they all SUVs and minivans? They couldn't get a Jeep or anything. Like, what? They're all clad in like military fatigue, and they're rolling up in Karen vehicles.
Hey man, it's the ultimate Karen move. Just wait until we get home.
Just serious.
Like, no one can see. Then I'm gonna beat the shit out of you.
Oh my god.
Not kidnapping us, and you're civilians kidnapping us.
The ultimate.
Oh shit! Threw something at him.
Stop it! What a big move!
I just want to highlight, like, this is, like, obviously police attempts to provoke a response. Like, people talk about, well, why does it all lead to violence? Why does it all lead to, confrontation like this? Because it's instigated by the police.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would also say that there's a lot of people, I think, in those positions that would probably say, well, the way I was raised is when someone starts a fight with you, you better finish it.
Yeah, there's
right?
obviously this disconnect between, like, stand up for yourself and obey authority.
Yeah.
There's a balancing act, I know, that is somewhere there. And where it lies, I'm not necessarily sure, but it's typically when you have the people who expect you to obey them standing a little too tall for themselves, that kind of leads to this sort of confrontation that escalates into a downward spiral. So,
Unfortunately true.
Can you smile?
okay, so that was first video, and then we got what is this? So this another person being detained. So here we go.
No, she did not. We watch her. She put her hand up. She put her hand up.
I'm right here.
She's gonna come with us. Don't hurt her. No, don't hurt her. Hey, don't hurt her. Okay, get your hands up. Why are you putting the flashlight in her face?
Yo, what the fuck? This is an unmarked car. Who is this? Who are you?
Dude, I just want to emphasize something, the importance of, like, why we have labels on police vehicles. Like...
Yeah, so that you can report somebody when they break the law.
I mean,
Not that that's really done much with qualified immunity, among other things.
I mean, there's also the fact that like the reason why we have marked vehicles that clearly designate a system of authority is like, how do we know that these people are federal agents, or how do we know that these people are just fucking boogaloos trying to provoke something?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. Easier said than done, though.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Where's she going? Where's she going?
Where are you taking her? Where? You have to tell us where you're taking her. Where are you going? Where are you going? Help us! Help us! Who is this? Who the fuck?
Yeah. That's great. So then we also have, I think this is the last one I got. So, oh, this one's great. So this one is, they showed it on the interview with the DHS secretary, but this is, I believe, a Navy veteran who went up to these guys and asked them, like, what is your oath? Like, what did you swear an oath to? And so the people that he's talking to, this is a military guy. This is a person approaching people who are decide to go into the police force instead. This is how they respond to such questions. So, you know, props to him for being like a super person and just taking those blows like that. But like, apparently he had like, I think one of his hands was broken by that baton smack because that shit hurts.
Yeah, he's getting into surgery, I guess.
But still had the strength to at least flip them off.
Yeah, that guy's tough as a coffin nail.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's happening right now. I mean, at this point, they might as well just bag the people, put black bags over their head as they put them in these unmarked vehicles as they drive away.
And I mean, in Trump's America, is it surprising? No.
I guess not. So, yeah, that's the state.
Sucks, dude.
That's the state that we're in right now, folks, with these protests and whatnot. So,
yeah.
Okay, so let's. I guess let's just wrap it up with COVID. Let's end on a more positive note with COVID.
Yay!
So we have hang on, I forgot. Let me just look. So we have surges. We have surges of COVID-19 throughout the United States right now.
None of which are associated with larger protest locations.
No. A lot of it has to do with just people wanting things to go back to normal and reopening the economy as if nothing's going on right now. So, as we're recording this...
It's people behaving like children because adulting is hard.
Yeah. So, as we're recording this on July 26th, we have 4.2 million cases confirmed, and we are just shy of 150,000 deaths. On the this is the fifth consecutive day, there are more than 1,000 deaths from coronavirus in the United States, and infections haven't shown signs of significantly slowing, according to the COVID tracking project. More than 145,000 people in the country have died from the virus. This is a little outdated. And more than 4 million have been infected. Those numbers are obviously higher. So new daily cases are increasing in 46 out of the 50 states in America. Among them are California, which reported its highest number of single-day deaths on Thursday. In Indiana, there were close to 1,000 new cases and 11 deaths on Saturday. And Montana reported the highest daily number of cases on Saturday, which is 224 new cases. Also, not a lot of people live in Montana too. So Louisiana reported more than 2,000 new cases. And in total, there have been more than 103,000 cases and 3,600 deaths in the state, according to the Louisiana Department of Health. It is clear that COVID is alive and well in Louisiana as we see more people testing positive and admitted to hospitals. Mississippi, another state experiencing an uptick in cases, imposed a mask mandate on multiple additional counties. Mind you, Georgia, the state of Georgia, cities in Georgia tried to do this, but the Georgia governor, Brian Kemp, sued the mayors for attempting to issue a state a mandatory mask mandate. 2,000 additional cases also occurring in Alabama. There are more than 76,000 cases in the state with 1,400 deaths. Nevada just had its deadliest week from the virus. In total, there have been almost 42,000 cases and 730 deaths in the state. Arizona, which is probably the biggest hit in the Sun Belt region, has more than 3,700 new COVID cases with close to 145 deaths on Saturday. So, what do you think is causing these upticks in the surge?
Again, it's people not wearing masks. So, Colorado had to put in a mandate because people couldn't act like grown folks and, wear an extra piece of clothing. We are also seeing a want to go back to normal, and that simply can't be. And we saw people not willing to go back into isolation. And to me, it's by design because they're not supplying people with enough food to be able to get things done, right? Like, you need money to buy food.
Right.
And when you compare Canada, which had a $2,000 monthly stimulus check sent to everyone, versus in the United States, where we had a one-time, soon-to-be two-time, $1,200 check, we should really sit and think about that, especially when we have record unemployment and our healthcare is directly tied to that.
Correct.
It's grim reality.
I just want to add that rent payment furloughs are going to expire soon. Same with mortgages. So you have that coupled with the unemployment. You're going to see massive. This is only going to escalate, folks. And nothing right now is being done in getting a comprehensive relief package being made in Congress right now at the moment. So we're standing at the precipice. Right now, we're getting halfway through the summer. We're going to be near the end of summer. Pretty soon it's going to be the beginning of autumn. As we can tell right now, we're at the time frame when President Trump said that the heat was going to kill the virus. That is clearly not the case. So we're looking at, this is basically pre-gaming for the second wave. Again, I don't want it to happen, but there's right now with the trends that I'm seeing right now, it's gonna fucking happen.
I don't even think that we're out of the first wave.
No, we're not done. We're not even done. Yeah, you're right. We're not even done with what would we consider the first wave.
Well, I think too, we're looking at Florida and Texas not publishing hospital data, right?
Yeah.
But there's still this theory that, it's not that big of a deal. Last statistic that I looked at, 31% of the population thinks that there are less COVID cases out there than are currently being projected, which to me is mind-numbingly stupid, but that's the world that we live in right now.
Let's understand something here, that these numbers are probably being underreported. And if not right now, especially with the Trump administration's new policy that this new cases are they're being sent directly to the White House and not to the CDC, they're probably going to be underreported even more. This is all being downplayed. And a lot of people are going to suffer and die as a result.
Yeah.
This is shocking. Absolutely shocking.
depressing, but I mean, I'd hate to say expected.
Yeah. So you said like this is probably due to the fact that a lot of people are not wearing masks and not taking this pandemic seriously, which I agree. So right now you're seeing spikes in cases, but the deaths are not as bad as the spring because the average age of people being infected is like 30 to 32, like people our age. So we are people that most likely when we get it, we're going to live. Mind you, I'm ignoring the fact that there's probably going to be long-term like health effects afterwards. And I'm also, but I don't want to downplay the fact that just because people our age are getting it does not mean like we are still a threat to people who are more susceptible of dying from this.
Yeah.
So please, people, put on a fucking mask.
That's not that hard.
And it's not that hard. You want to know why it's not that hard? Because I want to talk about the tragic story of Richard Ross. Have you heard about this guy?
The guy that went to Put-in-Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah. What an idiot.
So he's from Port Clinton, Ohio. And I threw something together really fast. So this is his post from April 28th. He says, let's make this clear. I'm not buying a fucking mask. I've made it this far by not buying it into a goddamn hype. So, throughout the spring into the summer, in June, he goes to Put-in-Bay. Now, Put-in-Bay has become like a cesspool, a small petri dish for COVID-19. I don't know if you've seen videos of the bars there being packed, especially those fucking swim-up bars. I'm like, what the fuck, people? Like, I was on Kelly's like 2 weeks ago, and like I told my friends, like, listen, I don't know if you guys want to go to Put-in-Bay, but we're absolutely not going to Put-in-Bay. I'm sorry, it's not happening. It's not happening at all.
The bar owners are trying to keep that shit underneath wraps too.
Actually, I was we actually, even on Kelly's, we avoided a lot of the bars. I think at the time when I was there, Dockers was closed because they had people being tested for COVID.
Yeah.
So this guy goes to Put-in-Bay. He checks in at all these places, and these places are packed. And of course, he's not wearing a mask. So what do you think happens a few weeks later on? I've been very sick for the past few days. Symptoms of COVID-19. This morning, I'm finally getting swabbed. I should know soon what the results are. I just want to feel good again. This is July 1st. So he's got the symptom. I mean, obviously he's had it for a while, but now the symptoms are starting like being shown. July 2nd. This COVID shit sucks. I'm so out of breath just sitting here. And then July 3rd. Oh wait, this is I mean, the guy had a fucking sense of humor, I guess. This is his last fucking post he's made. So, and then obviously, remember, like, it's so weird. I just want to say it's so weird now that Facebook now is like, there are so many like pages that are now like mausoleums because people are just dead now. Just fucking. This is just, I mean, listen, okay. I've checked out this guy's page. Obviously, there's a lot of things that I disagree with him on. But at most, I'm going to label this guy as just, another edgelord shit poster. He just did a lot of stuff with the lulz. So I want to put, my disagreements with him politically on the back burner and just talk about, like, this all could have been avoided. He could still be alive if he took the necessary precautions. But he didn't. And he's dead. He's fucking dead.
Yeah.
And I want to hold back because I've checked out his page. There have been a lot of people that have been, whether this is due to the fact that they are, they don't like him because of what he posted and they disagree with him on stuff and they're saying like he deserved this. Like, I'm going to avoid that shit. And I just want to highlight, like, this is a cautionary tale, people. Like, this is not something to just brush off and be nonchalant about. We're in a pandemic. This is a global pandemic. And the United States is like a plague nation right now. We carry a quarter of the world cases. We're not handling this well. I don't care what you say about like what President Trump has done. We have not handled this pandemic at all efficiently or at all responsibly. And we're paying for it. And Richard Ross has been a victim of that. A lot of Trump supporters are going to be victims of this just because of what they believe and their refusal to accept this for what it is. I mean, nowadays, it's July. We're finally seeing Trump now wearing a fucking mask. It has taken him this long to put on a fucking mask and be public about it. So, I mean, again, I'm holding back a lot of like stuff I want to say. And I just want to talk about like, I just want to emphasize people to please be safe. That's why I brought it up. I don't know if you have anything to add to that. It's just like, this is just tragic. It's just.
Take it seriously, folks.
I mean, seriously.
I mean, they're not playing pretend, and it's not the 5G cell towers doing it.
No, it's
but
not.
On the moon.
And don't give me this bullshit that you say you can't fucking breathe putting a mask on.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the best thing that I can say is I have seen furries walking around in
I know that you're going to bring up the furry deal.
And if you can't wear a freaking cloth mask, I just want you to know that those furries are so much tougher than you. You know, and that's not shaming furries either. Because You know what? I don't know how they do that. But don't complain. Really, it's the people that say, oh man, I don't like having things over my face, or I don't, that the only way to get better at it is graded exposure. And I've seen people with freaking O2 tubes walking into Walmart, walking with an oxygen tank, wearing a mask. And yeah, they have a little help, but dude, come on, right? Like, I have no pity for that. And maybe that makes me callous, but step up your game.
Again, I feel like I want to emphasize like another reason why I feel like things are going to get worse in this country, because we have so many people that thought like Richard Ross who are still going to be like, I put 905. There's literally an anti-mask protest that's going to be taking place in Columbus, Ohio. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. What the fuck is this seriously the hill you want to die on, both figuratively and literally, possibly? You want to make this like an act of freedom?
There were anti-mask protests during Spanish flu, and I think we're going to have the same result, right?
I mean,
over 500,000 people dead.
I mean, we talked about this when we first started, when we talked about the Open America protests, all these people. Like, the persecution complex of so many people. Like, this is seriously what you want to, like, this is an affront to my freedom? Get fucking real. Get fucking real. I can't take this seriously.
It's unfortunately where we're at. But, man, I have to leave.
Okay.
I think it's a good note.
That's good enough to leave.
I don't know how hard it is for people just to wear the mask, but it is what it is.
Do you want to talk about Michael Brooks really fast?
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is the left has lost one of the bigger broadcasters, right, or YouTubers.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have mentioned it. I think that will be a void that is hard to fill. And I did not know him personally, but I understand that many people were personally touched by him and his loss.
Well, that's a parasocial relationship dynamic.
Yeah.
I will say that I haven't really been affected by a loss like this since 2011, and that's when Christopher Hitchens died. Michael, I've told you before, we talked about you were a bigger fan of TMBS. I was more of a fan of the Majority Report, but of course Michael was on both shows. I will say that I really started warming up to TMBS, especially their segments on illicit history. I think if anybody doesn't know about that, should really give it a watch if they're fans of history or international politics. And what I really liked about Michael's positions were, like, he really tried to approach socialism from an internationalist perspective. Because really, our place in the world is at the expense of other nations through this sort of globalist hegemony that America has. And we can see how it was conducted through history. It's something that I really want to touch upon in my video about the Jakarta method. But yeah, I really, it just sucks. Because I feel like Michael Brooks was just getting started. If you guys haven't bought his book Against the Web, I really implore you guys to do that. I'm going to do it because I really wanted to read it, but now I'm more inclined to get a hold of it and read his insights. I'm really going to miss his signature laugh on the Majority Report. I was also really warming up to Weekends with Anna and Mike on the Jacobin. That's going to be... It just so sucks. It just sucks so much. Michael is also somebody that, like... Because there's a lot of infighting on the left. But I feel like for a brief moment, like, that stopped for people just so they can commemorate his life. And... not only did we share the same name, but we also shared the same birthday, which I thought was, like, really weird at first. But no, we share the same birthday, and he's only 5 years older than me, and it just shows how, like,
and a present thing that we should consider, especially with all that. Right?
It just shows that, like, life is short and cheap, and it, like, his death coupled with, Bernie's loss in the primary this year. I know it seems like we're down and out on the left, but, like, I'm glad that I started this with you, because now we got to pick up some slack because Michael's gone.
Yeah. Just gotta keep at it, man.
But yeah.
Just gotta keep at it.
Yeah, I just wanted to end shortly on that. So, yeah, please remember Michael Brooks and remember what he did. I can't replace him. I don't think anybody can. He was his own person, but I will try to approach things in a more internationalist perspective. That'll be my contribution and commitment. So,
I got you, man.
all right. Yeah, let's just go ahead and end it there. So, thank you all for watching.
Yeah.
Sorry, end on such bad notice.